My name is Zachary Davis. I'm the host of Ministry of Ideas and a graduate student here at Harvard Divinity School. I'm studying the philosophy of religion and the origins of modernity. So if Max Weber is your thing, come and talk to me after. I'm deeply moved and inspired to see all of you gathered here today. Many of you have sacrificed quite a bit to be here, some even traveling from as far away as Latvia and Melbourne. Go Rhiannon Evans. I think that reveals something about the passion we have for our work and the desire we have to support one another. That is precisely why we decided to organize this conference, to celebrate educational podcasting and to build a loving and nurturing community around it. It's fitting then that we meet here at Harvard University. The word university is derived from the Latin phrase universitas, a word for when a number of individuals associate into one body. The full phrase that preceded our use of university was Universitas Magistrorum et Scholarium. Latin scholars, tell me later how to pronounce that. A community of teachers and scholars. The people in this room produce shows on everything from the history of ancient Rome to cutting-edge psychological research to mathematics to critical theory. Together, our shows encompass the full range of scholarly inquiry. So here in the oldest and most storied university in America, we are marking the emergence of a new university, a sonic university. A university that combines scholarly rigor with oral intimacy. I believe that we are at the beginning of a profound moment of democratized education through podcasting, and that all of you gathered here together are the intrepid pioneers that will blaze these new paths. And though it might seem a little strange that we're holding a conference about educational podcasting here in a divinity school, but in some ways it's the perfect place. One of the most studied theological concepts is the nature and source of hope. For me, educational podcasting is a profound source of hope for a couple of different reasons. First, because it models an alternative economic system than neoliberal capitalism. I don't know anyone getting wealthy by doing educational podcasting. In fact, I don't know anyone making much money at all. And while that is admittedly a little discouraging for those of us who are drawn to make this our life's work, it is also a testimony to the purity and generosity of our motivations. Making our shows is a gift we offer to the world. We don't expect much in return, other than iTunes reviews, because we're motivated by something other than profit or fame. I think most of us are driven by the faith that no matter how small, that episode on John Singer Sargent, or Foucault, or particle physics helps our listeners be just a little bit wiser, a little bit more humane, and a little bit more in love with the world and its infinite wonders. The second reason educational podcasting gives me hope is because the people in this community are so extraordinary. I have only been podcasting for about 2 years, but nearly every podcaster I meet feels like meeting a new best friend. You all have this amazing combination of intelligence, creativity, and kindness that is really stunning. And I know that you carry that selfless brilliance into your shows and into the hearts of your listeners around the world. In a time of bitter political, cultural, and economic divisions, that capacity to spread light, warmth, and love through knowledge is worth celebrating and fostering. I don't think it is an exaggeration to say that for your listeners, you are not just educators, you are also ministers, therapists, and friends, offering healing through word and sound. So for those of you who produce a show, keep going. Hopefully some conversations this weekend will inspire ways to make it even better. And for those of you thinking about starting a show, join us. We are here to help you at every step. Utopian visions are generally less popular than they were in previous centuries. We've been through a lot that makes us cynical. But for me, the vision of a community of friends teaching one another literature, history, science, and philosophy is the best kind of utopia I can imagine. And that is the community that we're building together, one podcast episode at a time. Thank you. I'd like to now introduce our next speaker, Diane Moore. Diane L. Moore is the founder and director of the Religious Literacy Project here at Harvard Divinity School. She is also a senior fellow at the Center for the Study of World Religions and a faculty affiliate of the Middle East Initiative at Harvard Kennedy School. Her work is focused on advancing the public understanding of religion. She works on an astonishingly wide range of projects, including training high school and university students and teachers, foreign service officers, and even a global student body through her extremely popular online course on religion, available on edX. But there is something even more wonderful about Diane. She's the reason we're here. Working with Diane on her online course is what inspired me to apply to Harvard Divinity School. And seeing the way Diane used scholarship to intervene on critical social challenges inspired me to develop my own show, Ministry of Ideas, to not just be an exploration of scholarship for its own sake, but to use it to reshape the world along more equal, just, and loving principles. Eventually, Diane invited Ministry of Ideas to join HDS, and that is how we are able to bring you all together today in this lovely venue. Diane has profoundly shaped me for the better as a thinker and as a person, and it is my deep pleasure and honor to welcome her to speak to us.
Well, the first lie of the day has been spoken. You're not here because of me. You're here because of Zach Davis. Can you give him a hand, please? It is my profound privilege to welcome you here to Harvard Divinity School. On behalf of all of us here, the dean, the faculty, our students, our staff, it is an incredible privilege to have you here. And I just want to say a brief word about the synergy between Zach Davis and what we're doing at the Religious Literacy Project and his important work, not only at Harvard X, which is the place we met, but his visionary work around Ministry of Ideas. And in my remarks this morning, I'm really thinking about his work, but I suspect it is relevant to all of you in the room, and that's why we're so excited to have you here. So let me say first, as Zach already mentioned, you're probably, maybe many of you, some of you, all of you maybe are thinking, what the heck am I doing here at a divinity school? And if you think you're having that question, you can imagine what your colleagues up in the chapel are thinking. So I just want to say, by the end of my remarks, I hope that three things are going to be apparent to you. The first is that we share a lot in common. The work that you're trying to do through your work as podcasters, as artists, what we're trying to do here at the Divinity School. The second thing that I hope will be clear is that we have a lot to learn from you. And we're really, really excited to have you here with us and hope this is the beginning of a longer relationship and a longer conversation. And then the third is I hope that we have a little something to maybe offer you that you might not have thought of outside of this experience today, not only in your opportunity to be with colleagues, but what it means to be here at a divinity school. So the first thing I want to say that I think we share is that when we think about education, when we think about sound education, I love the play on words, what I would call critical education, sound education, critical education, education worthy of its name. It is not, at least aspirationally, it is not about indoctrination. It's about inspiration. And education can be both, and oftentimes it is both. But what I want to focus on here is the inspirational dimension of education, what we hope for aspirationally. And I think there are three components of what inspirational, aspirational, sound, critical education employs. The first one is that it provides opportunities to what we at the Religious Literacy call disrupting assumptions. How can we, the opportunity to disrupt assumptions, to help people who think they know something, to think about that in a new way. And not only to just disrupt those assumptions, but to then feel inspired by that disruption. To think it then inspires curiosity and inspires potential imagination and helps people get excited about thinking in new ways about what they thought they knew. And in a sense, it is really about rethinking assumptions that they held. And sound education is all about that. It's about helping people think in new ways, those aha moments, those epiphanies, if you will, those places where we say, oh, I kind of knew that, but I didn't know it in that way, and that energy that can inspire. So we share, those of us here as scholars and teachers at the Divinity School, what we're trying to do with education is we want to disrupt assumptions. And there are many, many assumptions about religion that are out and popular in public discourse that really is our opportunity and our challenge, those of us who are religious studies scholars, to challenge the assumptions, the embedded assumptions about religion. The second dimension of what I think of as critical sound education is that it inspires empathy. And this is the place that you have so much to teach us, because you in the room are master storytellers. And the power of story itself to inspire empathy, to have particular representations of particular expressions that can invite people into seeing something new, to disrupting assumptions, but then also to inspire a sense of connection with the players, the individuals, the ideas that you're representing. And that inspiration of empathy, I think, is such a critical, important dimension of our current, very polarized, very binary experience of not just here in the United States, but in the larger world. And I think of that, it's not just that you're good storytellers, but it's something that we have to learn from you. And I'm so excited to have the opportunity to work with Zach in Ministry of Ideas to think more broadly about our larger work. The way, what happens with sound education is that you limit the senses and then focus the senses. What you do with pause, with rhythm, with the quality of a sound, with the choice of music, with the way you use sound, requires something of the listener to invest him or herself into what you're doing and bring his and her imagination into the experience of a podcast. The best podcasts bring us to a different world for that 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 10 minutes. And that opportunity to be immersed in a new space that can then open up new doors for us, I think, is another dimension of critical, empowering education. And the third, and this is where I'm not sure, but I hope that we have something to offer. The third opportunity and representation of critical, empowering sound education is the ability to empower agency. Now, I'm trained as a social ethicist, and so for me, education is never about itself. It's always about what are we educating for? What do we hope to invoke in our students and our listeners in relationship to what it means to engage in activity, to what are we going to do with the knowledge we gain. And that notion of inspiring agency, especially in a time where people feel, where agency gets suffocated, I think, in the face of despair. So Zach's comment about hope, I think, is a dimension of what it means to inspire agency, is to be inspirers of what I call radical hope, a sense that our individual actions actually do make a tremendous difference, even in the face of the enormous odds that we face, that our individual agency is what creates the cultures where polarization, partisanship, hatred, fear reign, or where justice, hope, compassion can become more powerful and profound. So I want to end, I can't help it, I'm going to end with a parable. Forgive me. And the parable is really just a short story. It's about a neighborhood in a city where, strangely, the culture of this neighborhood actually has represented a sense of respect for elders, which is a rare moment in itself, but it is a pocket in this community. And there's a particular elder, an older woman, who is known by everyone in the community, and who is someone who is represented as both wise, compassionate, loving, and visionary. And she's known by everybody because she sits on her porch and is out a lot. And so people see her, greet her. There's a community of young students who are not so sure about the wisdom of this woman and not so sure about what it means to respect her in the way and have her held in such high veneration. And so they devise a trick, and they say they're going to expose her as not being at all wise and being actually quite ignorant. And how can a wizened old woman have much to offer anyway in our contemporary age? So their plan is they devise a plan. There's the 3 boys and a girl. They come together and say, what can we do? So they devise a plan, and their plan is that they're going to capture a bird, a small bird in their hand, and they're going to go up to her, and they're going to ask her, wise woman, I have a bird in my hand. Is it dead or alive? And they have schemed, and they say, if she says it's alive, I'll crush it in my hand and open it and expose her ignorance. But if she says it's dead, I'll open my hands and it'll fly free, and again, she'll be exposed. So they plan this, they're ready. After school, they gather themselves, they capture the bird along the way. She walked past her house, she's sitting there on her porch, as she does, and she sees the children coming to her. She is excited, welcoming them, opening her arms to them. Hello, children, welcome, welcome, come into my home. She says, what can I offer you? And they say, no, we just have a very quick question. She says, okay, so she's paying careful attention. She says, wise woman, I have a bird in my hand. Tell us, is it dead or alive? She pauses and she ignores the cynicism. She looks with compassion at each one of their faces, slowly, paying attention to each child individually, not saying anything, just looking at them, pondering. They start to get restless, nervous under her long gaze. Answer us. We have to go. Give us the answer. So she pauses, she looks again at the child holding the bird, and she stands up slowly, holds her hands around the hands of the boy holding the bird, and she says, my son, the bird is in your hands. How can we inspire our listeners, our students, to know that the bird is in our hands? We are the agents of change and of hope, or potentially the agents of despair. How do we break through the zero-sum binaries that are so present in our current culture? I think it's through story, I think it's through imagination, I think it's through artistry, and I think it's through hope. And all of you in this room have tremendous gifts in all those representations. And we, again, are so happy to have you here. We look forward to learning from you. And thank you both for your work and for your time. Thank you.